So right now, you can just see that there are about maybe a dozen cars with lights on, official vehicles with lights on. It does appear that officers are now retreating over here this way. The frantic running has calmed down, but still very active out here, very uncertain exactly what happened. We do, of course, believe that this is connected to that deputy shooting, but we're unclear of whether the suspect was found here, near here, who was shooting at who. It does appear there's somebody, okay, somebody is being carried right now. If you could see it, it looks like someone in all beige. Not sure if it was another officer or what, but we do see someone being carried by a group of law enforcement. Okay, they're coming over here this way. They're asking people to clear out as this person is. Oh, that's a dog. It appears that that's a canine dog on the ground. And now they're signaling for the helicopter in the air. Very involved scene, very fluid scene. Just a lot of moving parts here. They're telling people to get back as they work on what we believe to be a canine dog on the ground. All of this happening right before our eyes. We're not sure exactly if the suspect was apprehended, shot, or if the suspect is still on the run at this point. But the law enforcement officers that ran this way now have their attention around what we believe to be a canine dog that may have been shot when we heard that gunfire blasting off just a few moments ago.
Devin, this is Keith and Daniela now, KPRC 2 News at 5. We're starting right now, but Devin, we want to stay out there with you. Okay, my goodness. First, can you walk us back to where you were a few minutes ago? Tell us again, explain to those who might just be tuning in.
When was those shots fired?
Yeah, Keith, we actually see right now, before I get there, it looks like the helicopter is landing here in this parking lot. They were signaling for the helicopter above, and about 10 minutes or so ago, we heard a large amount of gunfire rattling off in the distance. I'm not sure if you can hear me because, as you can see, the helicopter is trying to land here. But as soon as we heard that gunfire, all of the law enforcement officials who were kind of standing around, opening up the scene actually, started running in this direction. And now we saw them running back with what we believe to be a canine dog that may have been shot. And as you can see, this helicopter, this GPS helicopter now landing here in the parking lot as officials have what we believe to be that canine dog circled. They were carrying him. They ran to where we see them right now. And it looks like they're now transporting this dog onto the helicopter. Here, they're rushing it onto the helicopter. I'm going to say to attempt life-saving measures. A very fluid scene out here. We heard about maybe a dozen gunshots rattling off in the distance, and then we saw law enforcement officials from multiple agencies, DPS, Fairland Police, HPD, and now we see them kind of focusing their attention on this helicopter where they brought what we believe to be a canine dog. We're not sure if the suspect has been apprehended in all of this at this time, but we do know that right now the group of law enforcement officials that had run over here to this part of the parking lot now kind of standing by silently as this helicopter gets prepared to carry what we believe to be canine unit away.
Keith? Yes.
Can you hear us, Devin?
Yes, we can hear you now. I'm
okay,
sorry.
we just want to clarify, this is the same parking lot where this original shooting happened. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what you're seeing right now is the opposite end of the parking lot. Adrian, I'm going to ask my photographer to turn around to show where the Dollar Tree is. And you can see just how far it is away. I'm going to guess about 200 yards or so from where the Dollar Tree is to where now all of this commotion is happening right now. So if this does have anything to do with them spotting the suspect, it seems he didn't go very far because we are still in the exact same parking lot where the deputy was shot. Jesus Vargas was shot earlier.
So, Devin, where you are in relation to that Dollar Tree where the initial shooting happened, would that qualify? Would you say this is the same shopping center, or would it be a different shopping center?
Yes.
The same.
Same one. Okay, just want to clarify for our viewers.
Exactly the same shopping center.
Are you hearing?
On the opposite end of the shopping center, but it is the same exact shopping center. And the police tape was originally over there by the Dollar Tree. And some of it still is, but now the police tape is over here as well at the other end of the parking lot where the Domino's, the Boost Mobile is.
Right.
We see an Octa Pharma Plasma
and that was
location as well.
That would all certainly make sense because we have been able to confirm that the suspect, after the shooting, initial shooting, he left the scene on foot, and so obviously he wasn't able to go very far.
But, right, we don't know, right, Devin? Where he could have gone into one of these stores, he could have been hiding somewhere, but this area has been secured for quite a couple of hours now. For a few hours, we've had reporters reporting live from there, and so this manhunt has been on in this area and, you know, the area surrounding it. So at some point, all of a sudden, we hear shots that are fired in this same parking lot. Is that correct?
That is correct. Things had calmed down tremendously, Danielle. In fact, like I said earlier, we were actually getting ready to do our story from this parking lot about what a witness saw. But while we were preparing to do our live shot at 5 o'clock, we heard all of this gunfire, which sounded like it was actually coming from inside one of these stores. It could have been behind this strip mall, but we did see all of that activity, and right now we do see some paramedics with a stretcher heading over to this location. We're not exactly sure who they're getting ready to pick up, but we definitely believe that this has a lot to do with that deputy being shot earlier. It's unclear whether the suspect has now been shot, whether the suspect has now been apprehended, but we do know that just a few moments ago, officials rushed what we believe to be a K-9 unit over here to this area of the parking lot and waited for that helicopter as officers signaled for that helicopter to land right here. Then they transported the dog onto the aircraft, and then it's now gone. Now we see paramedics heading back to where those officers who were carrying the dog came from.
Yeah, so someone's
injured. And so we're
injured
trying to determine exactly who was injured over there and what exactly is going on, because the scene just reactivated as it was calming down.
Okay,
all right,
Devin.
we just have some breaking news from our booth. One of our executive producers, we have learned that the suspect is dead. And we've also learned that the suspect is the one who shot that dog, shot the K-9 unit, the K-9 officer. And so we are learning now from our sources that the suspect is dead, and that's where that stretcher is likely headed.
Yeah, Devin, KPRC2 investigates. Our team has been making phone calls to their sources, and they're telling us, our investigates team telling us that, as Keith just mentioned, there was gunfire between the suspect and the police officers, and that the K-9 was shot. So that's information that we're getting. We are sending that to you since you're out there at the scene. So let's keep our eyes on that at that store, because it's likely they're going to take out that suspect out on that stretcher any minute now, and that's why you may think that things are a little bit more calm now, because that suspect is now dead.
I'm glad to get that context, because everything you're saying does correlate to with what we're seeing out here. And as we mentioned earlier, there was a massive search underway for that suspect, but this is the exact same parking lot where the deputy was shot. So he didn't get very far. In fact, we don't know if he had been hiding behind this strip mall, if he had been hiding inside of a store. But as you mentioned, that suspect now shot after shooting that K-9 unit, and now officials are now on the other side, we can't see around the corner from this, but we know that they're around the corner there and dealing with this part of the situation after that suspect has been shot.
If you think about it, there are many places where he could hide when he's taking off on foot. You know, you have restaurants, you have stores.
He could have gone inside of a building.
Right. Typically in these types of investigations, officers surround this area, they close it off, they go in and they clear every single store, every single room. They talk to potential witnesses. They're looking for surveillance cameras, and you know, they might have been doing all of this with that canine there, and were surprised by this suspect, and that is where the shots were exchanged and that canine was shot.
Yeah, and Devin, when you were there before all of this activity began, did it seem, because I know you've been on a million crime scenes, did it seem as if they were concentrated possibly on a suspect, or was it routine work because of the shooting that had happened earlier?
It seemed like they had been kind of taking apart part of this crime scene. They were opening up Stella Link Road, and they were actually removing a lot of the yellow tape that we saw here. We were preparing to do our story at 5. We just saw officers kind of about the place casually. And as you know, of course, canines are used for a reason because of their keen sense of smell. And it's possible that that is what happened, that canine unit discovered the suspect hiding in this area, and that's when that exchange of gunfire ensued. We know that right now we're not hearing a lot of activity, but we do know that they are doing whatever they're doing around the corner there, as we saw the paramedics walking down this side of the strip mall with the stretcher. And so it's not necessarily clear whether they thought the suspect had gotten far, but we do know that a lot of the activity that we saw initially had calmed down when everyone had to scramble and duck when we heard those gunshots about now 15 or so minutes ago.
Yes, yeah, and, you know, and just seeing those officers, they've already been through so much tragedy today with the one deputy losing his life, but you know, it was sad for people to be able to see that dog being taken onto the helicopter, because we know if you know anything about police departments, they love their animals. They love their canine officers as well. They consider them part of their force. And so from our vantage point, it seemed as if it might have at least either was a Belgian Malinois or perhaps a German Shepherd, but we know the critical part that those canine units play in any department.
Absolutely, and the fact that we didn't even know it was a canine at first. We just saw officers frantically running with a physical body of some sort in their arms. It was beige, so I wasn't sure whether it was one of the DPS officers that wear beige, because we just saw them carrying something beige, and they were very concerned and very attentive to what they were carrying. And now that we do know it is a canine unit, that just speaks to what you said, that these canine units are part of the force. They play a significant and important role in apprehending suspects because of their keen senses of smell. And so because of this dog being shot, this canine unit, we saw them waving down the helicopter from the sky, and it landed right here in the parking lot. Everything was focused on saving that dog's life, and we're going to continue to work to learn how that dog is doing. But right now, as you mentioned, we do know that the suspect has been shot, and it appears that that canine unit that has also now been shot played a significant role in apprehension.
Yeah, this helicopter headed to an animal hospital and trying to obviously get as much help as it can, because as you mentioned, these officers, these canine officers, are so important to the police department. Devin, thank you so much.